I think it's important to be cautious of 12-step cult members in harm reduction spaces. I think this is an important conversation to have. 12-step cult members have been so infantilized, and they're constantly in this like self-seeking, like seeking validation kind of vibe. And so, when you start to kind of question their motives and shit, this is a lot for them. Like, they have a very hard time looking at this and accepting this because they're so used to just being validated all the time that if you even question them a little bit, like, they see that as unacceptable. And we don't need people like that within a space that is supposed to be, about autonomy and consent and, being mindful and not stigmatizing. So that's the first thing I think is important to acknowledge, that if you cannot evaluate the way that you communicate and the way that you try to advocate, then you should not be in spaces with vulnerable people, whose needs are not being met. It's very important not to put performative, shitty, selfish people in front of those that are struggling with substance use disorder. I think that's really, really important. The other thing I want to acknowledge is that, if you embody a 12-step cult philosophy, which is anti-autonomy, which is against consent, then you cannot possibly be operating within a philosophy of harm reduction while distributing risk reduction tools. And I think that this is something that really, really needs to be talked about. So much of the work in being someone who is working in harm reduction and risk reduction is philosophical. And I think that that's a huge missing piece with so many people who are attempting to do this work.